Hey, dolls and dons, get ready to take on the world one episode at a time with the BabyDoll Show podcast. Let's rep your brand, your passion, lifestyle, and creativity like never before on the BabyDoll Show with BabyDoll. Guys, this is BabyDoll with the BabyDoll Show, and today I have a special guest, Tasha Cash, in the house. Hey, Tasha.
Hey, glad to be here. Glad to be here. Thank you. Thank you
I'm
for
so
that
glad
invite.
to came. I'm glad to have you. So, Thousand Dons, Tasha Cash, I met her at a Star Challenge for the Star Challenge for Spectacular Smith, Spectacular Spec Sensi. But that was a wonderful conference, and I really, really loved that challenge. And it caused me to meet you, Tasha, my accountability partner.
Yes, yes.
How did you like the challenge?
I enjoyed it. It was my second challenge with this spectacular team. And I believe the first one was mainly like social media. And this time around, it was from a more business aspect in the sense of scaling your business, which both were something that I wanted to learn a lot more information about. So it was great for me. The first time, I don't necessarily remember having an accountability partner, but I did have a success advisor. So I can say I've seen the elevation from the first time around, which it was about this time last year. Did it season 3. I did it as a birthday present to myself. And here we are back in April. And I just did the season, I believe, what was that, 9?
See, I don't know
Season
because that
9?
was my first one, Tasha. So I really didn't know how many seasons that he had
Okay.
preceded because I saw it on social media on Instagram. And so
Okay.
I didn't do like any real background to see how long they had been in existence. I just kind of knew he was from the group, Pretty Ricky, and that he had made a name for himself in social media and has quite the financial status behind him. But I didn't know a lot about the challenge and stuff and how long he'd really been doing that.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah. I did the same. Was watching him on Instagram for a while. When he first before the challenges even started, and it was just, seeing his name pop up when a lot of gurus started doing online training and coaching programs. I remember watching Nehemiah Davis, who does the event spaces, Grant Cardone, like all of these guys. And this was the beginning phases of this online income. And for some reason, I never took my eyes off Spec. And I was like, he the one. He the one. And today I still feel the same way. I still think he is. So great who, right?
I know, right? And it's funny that you say that because I feel the same way. There are so many master classes, challenges of sorts, social media, mentors, success advisors, every title that you could potentially come up with, it's prominent on social media, right? You can't really get past it. Everybody's doing it. And I've invested in some of them. However, I'll be honest with you, I never really took anything. I took a piece here, a piece there, nothing substantial. I may have bought some of the ebooks and things like that, but I didn't honestly put any of it into practice or have any real takeaways or the desire to learn more, do more until this particular challenge. Because he really dropped some gems, some nuggets, whatever you really want to call them, some real takeaways. Some of them, you didn't have to pay for anything like that, which is always really, really cool. And I guess that's why he speaks of everything with value, so that they can have some value in it, so that you want to invest into yourself more. Not that it's so much totally about him, but that we are investing in ourselves. And he really made, I know for me, he made me want to do the work, even though we should want to do the work anyway, because it's our business, right? So to just take the challenge,
Right.
you know, and participate in whatever he has or pay for whatever courses and things like that, they don't mean anything if we don't do the work. All we've done is add to his revenue, his return on investment, which is not what he's really completely after. So I have to say that it's probably the best challenge and the best classes that I've ever participated in. And as he promised and said, if we did our work, we would see some type of difference or growth immediately. And it's true, I believe.
Yeah.
So
And I feel like he not only does that, like he shows that not only can he stand as one person, there he has a team, and he's shown that there is success in having a team, and not just you being the one person on the forefront, um running everything yourself, right? We know that at some point that may work for some people, you know what I mean? And some people can scale a business by themselves for as long as they can. But at some point, it's something about learning to trust, that somebody else got your back, because at some point you can't do it all by yourself. You are going to need help. And to have to run into it later when you're, not to say your back is against the wall, but let's just say for a person who is in, fashion and design, and now you marketing your brand and you got a lot of orders coming in. At one point it was manageable for you, but at some point it becomes more than you can bear. And now you got to quickly delegate that to somebody else. And who's to say that's somebody that you trust with your brand? Who's to say? Whereas if you already got a team that understands your vision, then you protecting your movement as you move forward has a different uh I guess potential of doing better than you falling into, areas that will cost you in the long run.
Absolutely. And delegation is important in leadership, period, whether you're running your own business or anything, because in order to be an effective manager, you have to at some point be able to delegate. That's part of the leadership portion of it. You can't lead someone and then you want to be every moving piece.
Yep. Yep.
Which
Yep.
we are doing. I mean, I'm doing that now, but I already know, and it's kind of weird because I never really thought about that portion of it. How many hats that I was actually wearing. And I know for me, I would recommend, to anyone when they start business to definitely, if you can, have your ducks in a row financially, because whereas it seems as you may not need, the marketing, and you may not need the mentor, you may not need all these different resources. You do need all of those things. They're really unavoidable. And when you have to piece it together, it does take you longer. You bump your head a lot more than you potentially would if you had some of those support systems. So what are
Yeah,
you working
absolutely.
on, Tasha?
Girl. I'm right now, I am in the midst of doing two things. My brother and I have a business where we are training audio, visual, and lighting stagehands, basic audio visual um, classes, right, to give them an opportunity to get into the field and industry that we work in. Aside from that, we're using studio, recording studio, to help facilitate some of those skill sets on the audio side, right? Because we do music, it made sense to, expand, right? We had a studio in DC, are moving out into the Baltimore area, which I am right now. We just me and my brother just got to the studio to, see what the next step is and getting it together with the equipment and just a lot of hands-on work, right? Aside from that, this is just second tier, like you said, wearing a lot of hats because you got a lot going on, but I can honestly say that there's a team.
Okay.
We're not working alone, and this has been something that we have been working at for some time now, and just always putting more pieces of the puzzle together. And to me, it's been like a lasagna. Each year, it's another layer and another layer and another layer. What we have not done, which is one of the reasons why I went and did this spectacular challenge, is we've done everything under the radar. They say don't tell your left hand what your right hand is doing, or the devil is always listening. And because we wanted to do something great, right? Not just for ourselves, because we did that already. We had that time as, I want to be an artist. I want to be an artist. I want to be a producer. I want to do this. We got through that us phase, It's all about us, and realize the bigger picture. So, and as a brother and sister duo, that in itself is unique. unique for the industry that we both are in. We both are audio visual technicians. We both do music, right? He is the person who went to school for mixing and mastering and even learned how to design studios, right? Whereas I went to school for theater and film, which I'm about to get into because I'm supposed to be held accountable for this challenge that I said I was going to do that I haven't finished yet, right? We're going to have to redo it. But the reason I bring that up is because right after the challenge happened, or we began the challenge, and I left Florida to come back to DC to, you know, talk over the next steps with my my success advisor, right, Jackie. I was informed that my professor, right, who I didn't speak about him in one of those videos, but I did mention that that's what I went to school for, and this is one of the reasons why I don't like posting online. One of my professors had passed, right? Passed on the 25th of March. And the day before he passed, to my understanding, there was a scare on A&T's campus, North Carolina A&T's campus. There was a supposed shooter. I don't know if you were aware of this information, but there was a supposed shooter who was on A&T's campus, a white male with a whole bunch of ammo and exclusive, I guess, bombs and stuff in his car, where he was caught right next to the building that was my building, the theater department. So let's not even say what could have happened, you know, but it was just a lot that I privy to about what was going on in Greensboro, North Carolina at A&T. So I said, I need to go there. So I went to the funeral. And after I went to the funeral, I went to go and speak to the students. I had an opportunity to speak to the senior class, you know, check on them and see how they were with both things happening at one time, losing a professor and, you know, the quote unquote supposed, you know, shooting scare. So I felt like that was necessary, and that's what I did. And now I'm back home, getting back to the business, you know, taking Specs advice on being coachable and taking action. But in the midst of that, I had time to also handle some business. I said I got to make some money. And one of the other businesses that I'm running is distributing alkaline water for Live Water. I don't know if you're familiar with that brand as well, but all of this information I'm going to give you links to so that your audience or your listeners can go experience or look into.
Absolutely. Explain just a little bit more, because I absolutely will make sure that as soon as you provide me with all links, I'll make sure that's in the description of the podcast description, so all of the listeners are able to explore what you're doing, follow you, and things like that. So explain, because I'm not familiar with that. Would you explain more of that to me?
So alkaline water is one of the healthiest pH levels of water you can drink. It's 6.5. Most of the waters that we drink, Deer Park and Pure Life, they're not the healthiest waters for our body, right? Me being an Aggie, I partnered up with another Aggie who I went to school with, who brought this idea to me of working with their company by distributing this water brand in the area that I'm from, right, which is DC. So I partnered up with him 2 years ago, and we started to do this water thing. And I realized that the brand was already bigger than what he had expressed. To my understanding, there were some celebrities who had already got on board, like Master P and a couple other names, Dr. Umar Johnson. These people are standing behind the brand, and it comes right out of Winston-Salem, North Carolina. So there's some land there. And I believe that it's native owned land, and the water is holy. I'm going to leave it there, and I'm going to drop the link so that anyone who wants to go and find out more information about this water can go and do so. But the name of it is Alkaline Water. The name of the company is Live Water. And it's a great brand. Very, very, very healthy for those who, you know, may have any health issues like diabetes, high blood pressure. It helps balance the imbalances in the chemicals and the toxins in our body. So I stand behind it, and that's what I'm promoting for our people. So everything that I do, like I said, I had to take the me out of it, everything that Tasha wanted to do, and see that there's a bigger picture. And that's what I'm here for. Not just for myself, I partner with other companies that have the same cause, you know, are looking to do the same work.
Fantastic. Fantastic. And you sound pretty happy about it. So that's good.
Absolutely. When Aggies, it's something about us Aggies, and I ain't just saying that because I'm in Aggie spirit right now, but I got my Aggie everything on too, because I had to go get some new gear. They really played with my heart when they said there was a shooter on campus trying to take out the kids. Like, wow, don't do that. It's how I feel about it.
And I don't
but I
know what's
know that
up with
God,
that.
I know that God is greater. Yeah, it's, you know, the devil was working. and he is dancing his way to wherever he think he going. But at the end of the day, I know that God was present and God protected those kids, from whatever was thought to happen to not even be a conversation, and I'm grateful that I had an opportunity to go there, and not only for the funeral to pay respects to and homage to my professor, but to also be there to speak to the next generation, in lieu of him not being present any longer, to let them know how serious it is, being coachable, taking action. The same things that we're teaching ourselves 15 years later. Don't wait, do it now. You here for a reason. Make it happen.
Make it happen. No time is better than the present, huh?
Yeah, that's right.
No time is better than the present. So what made you get into the industry of being an artist? What inspired you?
I believe that I began as a poet. I began as a writer. I was always writing as a child growing up. And the switch for me happened really when I played basketball. And, that was kind of my thing. That was, every child has their thing. Basketball was mine. And I got injured and I had to make a decision between being a manager for a sports team or going into the arts. And I chose to go into the arts. When I got on that stage, it just felt right. It felt like home. It felt like I knew what I was doing, and it was second nature to me. And at that point, I decided that WNBA might not be a thing anymore. I had to change directions. That was very hard for me to take in because that was my end all be all. I had already told everybody who was getting house and who's a good what car they we playing this thing out. It was, I was that kid at the family functions when everybody show up that all they talk about is the one thing they know you supposed to do when you grow up. That's what they waiting on. That was me. And it hurt my heart that when I got injured, everybody was so disappointed. So when I showed up at the family meetings, it was so what you gonna do now? Dang.
Like on TV, did they do you like they do on TV? Like now, how we gonna live?
They did. How we gonna live? I said, okay, I'm gonna go back to the drawing board. You're gonna figure this thing out. But no, it did. It felt like that on the inside. For me, it was like, what am I gonna do? Because this was my thing. This was it. I even tried coaching. Started coaching at one of the high schools just because I was like, I can still do. Look, take it out of it. You can't go, but you can train and coach these kids to do what you wanted to do. And I did that for a time, but ultimately I always had a passion for writing. I always had a passion for speaking. I always had a passion for helping another person through words by just being positive or shedding light in the best way I know how, right? And that's by being spirit-led. And that to me has led not only my ability to perform, but to just be a better person amongst people. That is a value that you can't put a price on. And I cherish that. So me just being able to be me was something that I was stubborn about because I wouldn't put a price on me. I would take a job and not get paid for it because it wasn't about the money for me. It was about me being able to service the person that I wanted to service. And then I had to learn that life comes with bills. And Tasha, you got to put a value on your service.
Yeah, there's a lot of broke artists.
Is a lot, right? So all of the things that I was being taught over the years, like I said, the professor that passed, Mr. Rich, he was my stage professor, right? My concentration was in theater, and he was always in my ear, Tasha, go in the shop, spend some time in that shop. You're gonna need it later. Well, how about 15 years later? That's the job that I do. That I'm an audio visual technician. That shop work that he was in my ear about so bad, even though I wanted to be on stage, is my bread and butter to take care of the passion that I have that I want to do. So I learned, I do need that money. We ain't gonna be no starving actress out here going from one audition to the next. And there's nothing wrong with those who choose that, right? I just said for me, I did not like the stigma or the stereotype that every artist had to be a starving artist to get to where they want to be. No, you can go get the bag and do it.
Right.
You can do both.
Right.
You can learn another skill set to help you get to where you're trying to get. You ain't gotta starve. And I made it my business business to not do that. So that is why I took the time to learn, the audio, the tech side, as well as learning the performance side. And they work hand in hand, but to each his own.
Yeah, it helps to have a better understanding for it. So I take it you write, and does that mean like you sing too, or what are some other of your arts besides tech?
So what I did with the poetry was I took the poetry and I decided to put the poetry behind music. When I did that, I realized that they weren't really songs, right? That I was creating. They were more like pieces, and I was okay with that, right? But it drove me to want to know the difference between being a poet and being an artist. So there I am, experimenting, right, with the difference. And what I realized is that some of the music that I was able to create out of that, to me, some of them sound like full-blown records, and some of them sound like, I would call them vibes, right? Okay. Vibes in the sense that it's not a whole song, but there's a message, and there's music or melody behind it. So in essence, it's no longer just a poem, it's a song, or it's a piece. So that's what I spent my time doing, is taking my ideas and creating pieces by taking my poetry and recreating them into songs.
Awesome. Have you released any of it?
Here comes the question. Uh-oh. I have not. Which is why we are at Specs
right now
inside of his program. I'm telling you, we are inside his program because it's my baby. And we talked about this, right? We talked about having that one thing that you just afraid to let go because you don't want the world. For me, I feel like when I did the music piece, and I'll go back to taking myself out and looking at the bigger picture. When I started to do it was healing for me, right? It was therapeutic for me. So when I would go and listen to what I created, I felt like it was me talking to me. Like, this is my medicine. This is, this will get me up in the morning. And when I want to feel like I'm in this mood, this is what gets me. Like, this is good for me. Right. And then as other people, around me started to hear, what I was doing, they like, no, this ain't for you. This is for us. Right. You need to let it go. You need to give it away. You need to give it away. You need to give it away. And I'm like, no. So for me as an artist, I didn't understand that part yet, right? And this is just maybe 2-3 years ago we're talking for me, because I only been doing the music thing for about 5, but I've been performing as an actress and a writer since I was maybe 9-10 years old. Okay. So here we are now, and I'm trusting that the program that we're in will not only give me the know-how, because as I was working on music, I was not paying attention to the world. When I say not paying attention to the world, meaning I wasn't focused on what the world was doing because I was too busy creating whatever I was creating. So now I'm teaching myself what I was not paying attention to while the world was catching up. You get what I'm saying? Exactly. Now we have AI technology, we have virtual assistants, we got virtual addresses, it's just a whole new world. And while I knew, time was changing, I didn't care about it. And I'm okay with the fact that I didn't care about it, because now all I have to do is apply what's already been created and execute on it for the things that I know I have going on. So it's like, it's a plus and a negative, but I'm okay with where I'm at, because the whole the focus is to move from being non-seen to being on a platform where I am seen, and that the audience of whichever industry can enjoy whatever service or gift we want to give. Absolutely. Yeah. That selfish nature for the artist, I think that's something a lot either goes from one extreme to the other. They just want to jump on out with what they have, not, prepared sometimes, or just like, no, it's not right. It's not ready. It's not good enough. There's just always. No, you're absolutely right. And I have to say, I'm just as victim as any other artist who was at this, the place where I've been. And for me, I took the perfectionist thing out of it a long time ago, because ain't nothing gonna be perfect. And if I continue to fight for that, then it's never gonna come out. But what I have done is, as I learn more about the business, I try to take heed and not make mistakes that other people have made, to have to go back and deal with those things later, right? And having the business taken care of, the groundwork, right? The foundation, that for me is way more important than anything else. And I feel like for me, as we brand, when I say we, I say I'm speaking about my brother because I did bring him up. We do have two different companies, but we still work, with each other. As we put ourselves on a platform, for the world to see what we've been doing, my hope is that our framework and the system that we create for any artist, at no matter what part of that phase they're in, even if it's in that, okay, I just created this baby, you know what I mean? I don't want to let it go, but we'll have ways to help you get through that not wanting to let it go, portion. Because I've done mental health, I understand that there are a lot of other things that go into an artist, not just being able to write their music and record their music and go and do shows. They lifestyle, they mindset, a lot of things you want them to be able to manage so that you don't run into those mistakes that come with figuring it, having that who, right? As spec is my who, I want to be a who for artists. No matter where they are, they know how to get to the next step, right? Because someone's able to meet them there or show them the way. So
yes, I agree with that wholeheartedly, which kind of reminded when he was saying, no matter what your level is, every mentor needs a mentor, in that you can't do this all by yourself. It's an ever-changing industry. Like, your style and those things might not change, but the way that we present it, because I know one of the biggest takeaways that he pushed us to do that's going to help us more than anything. Like you said, you have all that music and a lot more of everything inside of you to share with the world, but the world doesn't even know anything about it, right? And to have all of these things and the world not know. And it seems, and I've talked to not just you, I've talked to other VIPs and those that were in the challenge, and then my own friends and colleagues and things like that. And the difference between us and them is they doing it. I can't even say like nothing fancy, nothing elegant. I can't soup it up. They're doing it. They're just doing it. They're just doing it, And so with us having the mentors and things like that, we can have a better balance. But it's important that, we just keep pushing forward in that aspect, because look at all of the amazing things that you shared today, right? You have like 2-3 amazing things that contribute to the world. And if nothing more, if, you niche it down to your industry that could benefit from Tasha.
Absolutely.
So looks like that's gonna be, our real goal. And I know what I'd like to do. I'd like for us to have a second episode revisiting after, some more challenges, or just what we're doing day over day to grow our brands, to let the listeners know like these things really work. A lot of times everyone, I know for me, I feel that, people, we look at the bigger picture. I even look at the bigger picture, which is also one of the reasons why it took me a minute to get where I am now, is because it's nothing wrong with setting your goals high, but sometimes when you set them so high, it causes you to move too slow, because you're always trying to get to that bigger goal, but you got to start somewhere. And trying to get myself to be consistent with doing that, that was like the biggest challenge, because you see this person doing that, you see that person doing that, even, Beck, he didn't start off with, $1 million. He didn't start off with 1 million followers. He didn't start off that. We see the more glamorous side, from the stars and things like that. And then I look like, dang, I only got this many likes. Like, dang, I only got.
I'm telling you.
And then I'll put myself, but
no, go ahead.
No, I was finishing. Go ahead. You're good.
I might have lost my train of thought as well, but I remember in sessions that we were having where he did speak on his beginnings, like not having it and figuring it out, and that was one of the reasons why I'm not shy about, or not even the word shy. It doesn't bother me to invest, right, in some of these programs, because you got to invest in yourself. And like you said, even in some of the beginning challenges that he posted for people to get into, they were next to nothing. But the information, if you were paying attention and you took heed to, there was something in there that, like gems that you could go and apply and make lucrative, or even make money off of, just to say, or not just to say, but just for the understanding that, okay, he's not just giving information just because this is, first level, but we can build from here. And I've seen that all the information that he gave, there was actual proven result behind. Case in point, the first one that I did was the book, was the social media challenge. And it was about, basically putting a book out there for, sense of notoriety. This time around, it was becoming what is it called? Not registered. What is it when you get the blue
Oh, the
check
verified,
on Instagram?
to be
Verified. There you
verified.
go. Right. Just different tools or techniques to set yourself above the bar or away from the crowd. You know what I mean? To help your business stand on a different level. You know what I'm saying? Just the small, minute things that other people may not look at, but technically that is exactly what you're looking at when you're looking at these people who are making money.
Right, right,
So
right. And
I
they're
definitely
consistent and
get it.
present. I just saw it
Yes.
in a whole
Yes.
different light because, I've looked at a lot of different things, but it was definitely a new, fresh perspective. Because when you think of people like Grant, he had a challenge, I believe, the other day, just a real short one with his team. And it was my first time, ever being in one of his challenges or anything like that. And I would have probably never, I wouldn't have, Tasha, I wouldn't have done it at all. I would
Yeah.
have never, been in that. But just little things like you said, he's like, that's like, if you want to get some money, you need to be around some money. You need to be in the right places and with the right people, listening to, the right things and stuff like that. So I immediately put that, into play and practice. And it definitely, makes a difference. But I think I was so inspired, to see people of their caliber being so present and consistent, which is what, if we look at any of the successors, they're consistent at whatever they do. They're present and they're consistent. And
They
only we
are.
can do that.
They
You know what
are.
I'm saying? Nobody, they can, like Svet said, and you just said it, when, some of the things was very first level, but one, if you weren't paying attention, it'd be way over your head, or if you're not prepared, if you just came to the challenge, well, I want to start a business, but you don't have anything put together, you don't have any plans, you really haven't even, taken it really serious, then you just spent some time in a challenge. But if you're serious about it and just have an idea, you could pick up on the gems that, that he's throwing out there. You won't miss it, and even paying attention, because I know a lot of times, I know a suspect is bad behavior, but I'm usually doing like 2, 3, 4, 5 different things, and of course something you're not
At one
listening
time.
to. Yeah, you know what I'm saying. You're not listening. So I can actually say I didn't do all of that. Now there were some periods where I had to do something else, because the one thing he does, he gives you value, but he gives you more than the value, because he gives you a lot of time. It's not uncommon for him to run over, and things like that. So, sometimes I had to get to what I had to get to, because I sacrificed the time, to be with you all. But I think it's the best thing ever. And then to have an outlet to meet more like-minded individuals, because you have your brother, and I'm not sure who else you have, but if you're not really talking to people that are kind of in what you're into, sometimes you just talking, you don't get what you out of those conversations, because they don't have a clue what you're talking about.
Right. And that goes to just being in the right room. Like, I spent a lot of time like in the studio over the past couple of years, and with a couple of, different artists at different times, and sometimes in collaboration, just all of us in there at one time. And we were able to come up with a lot of different music, different styles and things of the sort, just because that was the focus of the time. So the same way, you want to be in a room with a lot of millionaires because you want to be the next millionaire. I knew I needed to be in a room with a lot of artists to understand what it was to become an artist. And
Yes.
not only did that help me learn what I needed to learn, it helped me teach too. I was able to teach I'm gonna say family, right? Because this is a family initiated business. I have younger cousins who were able to come into the studio setting, learn how to engineer and record themselves, and then learn how to record others. And one of the platforms that I know my brand is definitely going to stand behind, of course, is gun violence, because not only is it a thing for everybody, but it was definitely near and dear to my heart in this particular sense, because my cousin was killed. He was killed through his music, and that is something that's becoming an epidemic for our culture, is that they get to a point where they can express themselves, and they do express themselves, and the things that they talk about, they don't know how to separate art from reality. And when outputted to the world for people to receive, there's people who are happy about what you have to talk about, and there's people who are not. When you don't know the difference between between art and reality, right? So I say all that to say that one thing I did do, right, in this push was I did drop one of his songs to pay homage to his life and what we want to do to celebrate him. He has his own story to that soon, but I did drop one of his songs on Apple Music for people to be able to listen to his voice as we prepare the rest of his music to drop later. So that's also another link that I'll drop you in the group or in the chat. But yeah,
awesome.
this major things on this side. Major things on this side. I can't wait to finish the program, which I'm assuming will be done in May after the Punta Cana trip, right? I did sign up for the Diamond Experience. So I plan to go to Punta Cana and get this work done and get it in, get us marketed to the world.
That's what's up. That's what's up. So before we go, we've shared that you definitely have learned a lot and of course learned from mistakes. What would you like to share with someone that is aspiring to grow their brand in the artist field so that they won't, go down the same path or direction?
I would say first, put your trust in God. Don't think that this is something that you have to do alone or by yourself. And when I say that, it means until you fully learn how to trust the decisions that you make, leave it up to God. Give it to God first and let him guide and lead your steps, because then you have only a vision, but you have a compass or a guide, and in a spiritual sense, right? You may not know exactly where that help gonna come from, but as long as you have faith that God is with you, you're gonna figure out your way. Second, whatever gift God gave you, right? Don't let it lie dormant. Use it. If I can't say anything else, use the gift that God gave you. And if you don't know what your gift is, and it means you need to spend some time exploring different things or avenues of life to see what it is that you do like, so you can find out your place or your purpose in life, whatever that might. And if you have a gift that someone is telling you that is not worthy of using, don't listen to that voice. Don't listen to that voice. Trust yourself by trusting God first. If that's the advice that I can give anybody, I think that is a start in any positive direction.
Right.
And then just let it go from there.
Yes, I think that's a great parting statement for those that are finding their way, because everybody has. I that what you said is amazing and confirmation that don't don't listen, y'all, because we got all different levels. If someone can't see your vision, the answer could just be anything. So we just need to identify what we do well and do that. How did you say it, Tasha? Whatever is second nature. It comes natural. You don't have to research how to write that piece that you wrote. You don't need to consult with anybody when you sit down and get to your computer or take your pencil, and get to writing something. You don't need nobody's help for that. Or if you cook, I think Steve talked about, if you cook chicken good, then cook chicken. Whatever you do well.
I'm telling you. I had one of these guys that I was just working with on a project, and he was talking about how the younger guys were lazier, because and he was older, but it didn't bother him to work hard. And he turned around to one of the guys, and he was joking, but he said, "Hey man, listen here." He said, "As long as you got fingers that move and feet that wiggle and breath in your body to breathe, you can't tell me you can't get any of this work done. Cause I'm doing it, and I got a lot of problems. I got conditions and diabetes." He said, "But my fingers are moving and my feet are wiggling, and I'm moving. So should you." And it was funny, but he was serious. He was serious, and I feel the same way. Like, if you ain't incapacitated in any way, shape, or form, you can make it happen. You can make it happen. I've even worked with the mental health industry. I've worked intellectually disabled people. There's no excuses. No excuses.
Just do it. And tomorrow's not
do something.
promised. You know what I'm saying? You sit around and before you know it, you're no longer able to do it, either because you're not here or just something very unfortunate happens. So I'm really committed to not putting off anymore. Procrastination is the devil, girl.
Absolutely. Speaking of that, I have to redo my challenge. My challenge was to post once a day for 30 days, and I haven't posted since the third day. So I have to redo my challenge, and I talked to my success advisor about it. But what I'm going to do it, and I did that on purpose because I knew I wasn't going to follow through because of how large I made my goal for something that I don't do often, right? So instead of doing 30 days, I should have started off smaller with 7, just 1 week, and then build to the next week and the next week. So in me learning that, I'm going to walk the people that are watching me go through what I'm going through the same things. I'm pretty sure somebody else did the same thing I did. Said
I'm
they was going to do
sure.
something and didn't stick to it, and then but didn't follow up to say, you know what, I said I was going to do this and I didn't, but you know what, now we about to revisit this and get back to it. That's showing the fight, right? Nothing that we try to do is peaches and cream. Like there's bumps along the way, but sometimes we don't show those bumps along the way that people can really relate to, as to they might be in that same spot, but because the conversation stops and the show is over, it's like, well, if you ain't talking about it, I ain't talking about it. If you ain't doing it, I ain't doing it. No, Tasha gonna show y'all something different. Yeah, I did say that's what I was gonna do, and I didn't do it. So now we gonna hold us accountable.
Yes, and you got to do it. And it's so important because, you only going to touch so many hands and see so many people's faces in a day. So it's really important, social media is just what it is, and it's not going anywhere. And especially the industry that you've decided that is your passion and your gift, definitely, be, visible, or someone has to be visible for you.
Right.
So however you work that out. But I know I'm gonna hold you accountable, because I don't know. I'm just going my parting words, and it's something that I still deal with. But I know I've now, like when they say first thing is to admit you got a problem. So my problem was I didn't want to go, social media, and there's just so many things with social media. Like before I started the BabyDoll Show, I was just using my dial. I didn't go with pictures or anything, and I get all these obscene messages and DMs and just all kinds of crazy stuff. So it kind of like scared me off a little bit. So I'm like, I'm just using a dial and I'm being harassed. So it wasn't really making me, really wanting to go that way. But there are some ways, that you don't always have to be, your face doesn't really have to be out there, but our brand does. And that we can't get around, because I'm glad that I'm social now. But before I was social, Tasha, whenever I was like, oh, here's my number, they'd be like, are you on social media? Are you on Instagram? Are you on?
You like,
No, not really.
Have
Like,
none of it.
I had a Facebook page probably 2 years with like maybe, I might have had 77 followers or something. It was real low because I really didn't use it. I didn't even work for those, I didn't even work for those followers. I had that many, but I wasn't using it, and I've kind of been off of it lately, only because I really needed to take time. And, when we did our list, what are we doing? What are you doing? If someone asks you, what do you do? Getting down to everything, because I had a lot of what I was doing, but if I needed to signal someone, and I do storytelling for work, for social media, but for my own profile, it wasn't telling nobody's story. You really couldn't really completely tell what I was doing or what I had to offer. And I'll admit it. And if you listen to, Spec had said it, and I've heard in many, challenges and master classes, that our biggest problem is just being all over the place. People go to your page, they don't have a clue what you're doing.
And that was one of the reasons. I didn't mean to cut you off.
You did.
That was one of the reasons why I when I talked to my success advisor, and she was like, you have all these things going on. Like, why haven't you, gone public, or basically going, promoting everything on social media? And I said, to be honest, because I feel like I'm wearing a couple of hats, and I don't know how. I don't want to mislead my audience, the people or my followers who's looking at me for so long. I can walk into a room and I'll get I'll get the notoriety for the room, but a lot of people will look and be like, well, who is that, or what did she do? And it's like, you don't know what capacity I may be showing up. If I'm showing up as a tech, if I'm showing up as a manager, if I'm showing up I've worn so many hats that I don't want people to question what I am or what I'm doing. So in writing a book, right? I went through the process of, doing that work to get the book together, but did I release it? No. Why? Because, Tasha, do you want to be seen as an author? Are you about to be doing workshops about this? Are you being seen as people who are listening to music on Apple Music and Spotify? They're going to be looking for Tasha's next show, as an audiovisual tech. Am I being booked out for this type of work? So how do I want to be seen? I need help with that, because I can do all, but how do I want this to be perceived on a major platform and on a major level? How do I want to scale me? Do we start here and go go here and then here. So that is why I felt like going to the program would help me be able to figure those things out and then organize it in a way that does make sense to the bottom line. Because for me, it's always been, once you roll out, ain't no going back.
Right.
On the music side, that's always, kind of been the thing. Once you out, that's it. Ain't no going back in. The ball has started and you on a roll. And because I believe in that so much, I don't want to start off on the wrong foot. I don't want you to feel a little bit of me, oh, that wasn't really it. And then it died down and it's like, yeah, nah, she tried it, but it didn't work. I'm not gonna give you an opportunity to do me like that. It's gonna be so much to take in from different platforms and avenues that it's just where was she the whole time?
Right.
Type of energy is what I'm looking. So
Yeah.
I don't mind the calculated timing, taking our time to build the other parts of what we're doing and leaving the social media piece for the last part, because once that's in place, now it's just managing what's coming in and what's coming out. And if ain't nothing coming in, I mean, we got to work harder on the creative side and not necessarily the social media side of marketing things. We got to work on the product. So everything has been a step forward, and I can just say I'm grateful. Even me having this conversation with you, there have been other people that wanted to get me on podcasts, and I was like, I'm not ready yet.
No, I was like, no, we gotta
I ain't ready yet.
We gotta start somewhere.
But we ready. We here. We time.
Yes.
And you know what's crazy? When you said you was my accountability partner, and then he was like, I got a podcast. I put my head down, I said, oh, Lord. That is the podcast. Back to the podcast. It's cool. It's cool. You know what? We're going to do it. I ain't even going to think about it. I made a decision in 60 seconds. I said, cool. We're going to do it. When on the 7th. We'll do it on the 7th. So thank you for inviting me, because you are a part of my push, and you get to say that you are a part of my push. Can't nobody else say they got me on a podcast right now, BabyDoll.
I wasn't letting it go. I was not letting it go. I'm just saying I was not letting it go, because I'm like, if she do this, and just how I saw you doing, your activities and stuff like that, that's gonna put some fire under her tail. She's going to feel in her spirit.
Yeah, that I gotta do it. Gotta go. Yeah, gotta get it done.
Go. Yes, yeah. Yes. So for that, I thank you. For Dolls and Dimes, I'm going to make sure that all of the links and everything that Tasha shares, that you have availability to that, so that way you can follow her on her journey of being amazing. So I'd like to thank you so much, Tasha.
Thank you, and I appreciate it. To everybody who was listening, thank you. We appreciate you. I appreciate you.
Yes. Keep it jazzy, y'all.